I'm horrible at keeping a consistent schedule now, aren't I? But hey, you know, moving in struggles. As you could tell, I spruced up the place a little bit. Well, not fully spruced up the place. 1 second, please. Backwards. Exactly as planned. Dude. More duct tape. Or maybe not. Yeah. Okay. No worries, I was gonna fix you anyways. Just part of the plan. Need a little more duct tape, you know. All part of the plan. Yeah. All part of the plan. And boom. Part of the plan. And like that, we're all spruced up. If only everything could be solved so easily with duct tape. Because the topic I talk about today is gonna be climate change, you know? One of the most hardest ones to talk about. It's all over the place and emotionally dampening to say the least. But as mentioned earlier, I went down a crazy little crash course of it about 3 or 4 months ago. And from there, I just have so many questions I still want to solve. And instead of just endlessly looking on Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the Renewable Now's resources, and CLIMATEdotNASAdotGOV, couldn't do that correctly, but I'll do it in a bit. I'll be able to actually do it with y'all if you want to learn and fix whatever ignorance you have about such a topic. Because an old man and a good friend once told me that hopefully one day we all truly find out how ignorant we really are. So, seeing that I still don't have an intro, if you'd like to come with me as we become less ignorant together, and see it that this became nothing more than a prop as I had drinking all my coffee just trying to record the transition, I had to ask you to come with me one last time as I break the laws of physics and time and jump to a new day. It's actually not that easy. You gotta get it just right. I'm horrible at keeping a consistent schedule now, aren't I? Well, even with the laws of partying, physics, and time, it just makes it almost improbable to come up with confidence in such a way. I personally just haven't had confidence in all of this and the topic I'm trying to talk about in hand, which will be climate change. It's such a perplexing topic, and as you can tell from all the tabs I have open in front of us, it's gonna be a big one because I'm just trying to solve one question and I keep on going back to it every single time this camera isn't on. It's just a simple question of how do we snuff out fossil fuels? It needs to be done. Something we talked about many times already and something that has been propelled in front of us. But it seems to be so far away, it could be so close. I'm reading a good book right now called The Third Industrial Revolution, where they use the standards of Europe and how they are trying to do such a thing. But me, as... So me, be it a Nebraskanan, I don't know much complication when it comes to climate change. I need all these reports to be able to tell me the difference between the global status reports and how heating and cooling is one of the most disastrous things that we can change from fossil fuels into electrical or renewable sources. I need the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change to tell me the statistics of how other reports throughout our research knowledge has gained enough knowledge in humans' intelligence before we can do such a thing and push forward and thrive. And then I need our good friends at CLIMATEdotNASAdotGOV for they can show and tell us the actual live reports and give us the numbers that are necessary to see the conclusion of what we are doing as human beings, as the scientific man will say, the anthropogenic warming of the world. But I rant. All of this is a lot of information, and it's going to carry on with a lot of information. So we should start off with the most simplest and complex, which will be the difference between climate and weather. It seems very simple when you think about it in thought, but a lot to most people that I've had conversation with on this topic will say that they don't truly know the difference. So, to simply put, weather is the outside events that we are experiencing right now. Anything that be it outside, raining, cold, bad, sad, all those things. If it's outside, it is determined as weather. And it's outside at a given point in time. It may be cat meow. But climate is the judging of the pattern of that weather between certain time periods. The best way to describe it would be, and a very crude way, to say the least, would be that summer is the climate of heat. And that winter is the climate of cold. This is one of the true things that make it so
it's very, very cold out.
irresistibly impossible to truly see that we're in a changing era, not just in humankind, be it with coronavirus and everyone being quarantined together. Hope you're having a good time quarantining. Stay positive. And second, be it that the world state is in a completely new era, be it how we're raising the CO2 levels by parts per million of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere. Explain more of parts per million in a bit. But it's one of those things that is just irreversible. We are in a changing day of time in man, in the human history, and the overall world history. And this is something that I've been truly trying to explore, understand more if I could get to that main consensus of how to snuff out fossil fuels. So I'm going to take over the little guide of what I've perceived so far. Because the first real report I ever saw started kicking in back in 1977, early 70s, where Witterman started posting reports about glacier recession. And with those glacier recession, he talks about how that added water flow now increase our water levels, where coastlines will be suffered, mountain ridges, and people who live in places that need these type of sea ice, or not sea ice, but glacier ice or permafrost or mountain ice, and how it is something that is crucial for their day-to-day life. Witterman was one of the first people that I could see that tried to explore this thought. And then from him, we have our good friends at the oil company trying to explain to us that nothing's wrong, actually. And with such, they'll lie to us with a huge propaganda scheme. Harvard has a whole Misled America article that's very well detailed and informed about how this is the overall general consensus on this is just a truth on how humans have caused increased warming, and be it oil companies have been one of the main ones. When Exxon came out with their report in 1982, they decided to go the opposite route and go into a point of pushing against a propaganda route, as you say, to inform those of less intelligence or less information, to give them wrong details so they can conclude that this is just a hoax. This isn't happening. This isn't something I'm going to be worried about because I'm doing my life. And we all just do in some way, shape, or form. It's just a natural thing of life. I have a baby. I need to go feed that baby. I need to go make sure that baby's healthy. I need to make sure that baby doesn't have the corona. I have my sister. My sister gets in a car crash. My sister runs around and does stupid things with her friends. I gotta make sure she's safe. I have a little brother. The little brother gets shot. The little brother goes crazy. He goes down the wrong route. The only I get to do in life is do in all those moments in time. And it takes away from the thought process that you have on this cataclysmic moment in world history where we're standing at today on how much we're pushing the parts per million. Because in this Exxon report, page 10, I'll say, it almost mimics perfectly the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change Global Warming of 1.5 Celsius. And this is one of the big key reports that people always mention and people always reference when it comes towards climate change and it comes towards the study and knowledge of climate change. And I will say this now, seeing that I haven't retorted it yet. if you would like to follow along or you'd like to see any of this information that I have collected over the months and months of studying this topic, everything will be located in the links down below. You can feel free to go learn more knowledge and try to hopefully see a better understanding of where we stand at now, especially now that we have all the accumulated time with this quarantine going on. I believe it's the best time to acquire knowledge. Now, is it not? I'll carry forth with global warming 1.5 Celsius on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. The editors, the reporters, they look at all the information that's come out in the world to try to understand where we are in this climate change fiasco, how we can see where we can go forward with, what are actual possible solutions, and why stumping out fossil fuels is a 100% necessity. And in the read of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, it's almost like reading a book, a really, really, really big book of a textbook. I don't have one here. Never mind, I do. Advanced Calculus. We use this textbook as a great example. And before you go just reading into a textbook, you're not going to know jack if you don't go to the glossary first. It'll always be my first recommendation when it comes towards this understanding of climate change and where we are, because most scientific researchers, most people in this field of study will always use specific words for very precise and defined reasons. And we need to understand these reasons before we can carry forth. I usually go through the skim idea and try to get the knowledge, understand them, and put them lightly in my brain for when I go back and read the report itself. Whenever a word comes out to me that can be almost like highlighted and a signal hits towards something that I've read in the glossary, I'll come back to the glossary and try to make sure I understand the definition if I can carry forward with understanding more. These reports are very long, very tedious, and very resource-based. Both the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the Global Status Report, the Global... Oh. Camera died. So I'll just state with the Global Status Report, I believe that's what I was saying last, and I would say that they are almost equally as hard, if not more harder, because they keep on talking about all the false promises that have been presented with us in this day and age. Our governors, representatives, our countries, and ourselves have done and said but never committed to. Power, electricity needs to change. That's the main renewable. Transportation is one of the main things. But in their latest source in 2016 from their recent graph on research shows that heating and cooling is one of the main contributors. It's almost like we're going through, a change of weather and climate that we need heating and cooling to cool us off. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, they have very dense reports, but very beautiful graphs. And I really wish they had something that is listed off the graphs like the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change does, where you can look into every single graph that they have on the 1.5 Celsius report and try to get the graphics and understand a little bit more. Very, very analytical inducing into what they are trying to tell you. It almost seems like you're reading 10 research reports in one. But I think that's the point, to understand this, the realization that human intelligence is high enough for we can pursue forward. I believe there's also a lot of great videos that go over these things. Second Thought is an amazing man. He has been producing a lot of great videos trying to cover these topics, and I believe he's read most of them himself from how he talks about it. I highly recommend those, as well as everything else in this video. Be located in the link down below. Because, me, as a Illinois would never lie to you. Now, my pride for my state would never make me want to lie to someone as you and naive as someone that can be. But my state pride will have to take me over, because no matter what, I know my Illinois, I know in my Alaska, and even my American Samoa-ness, there's people that would never believe in this stuff. There's people that will never grasp it, and people that truly will always outright deny it. Yale has a fantastic report about cultural cognitions. Too bad it's behind a fucking paywall, but it's supposedly an amazing report. I've only gotten tidbits from other authors, other people who have presented the information to me, and if I had $30, I'll buy this thing in a heartbeat and try to explain it to y'all in a lot more detail. But the best way I explain it is that they're a multitude of reasons of why you would not believe climate change is a thing. One, because of the political recoil, the economic recoil. Another, be it just because you're standing, be it a left ring, right ring, and what it will do to how your party should act in these dire times. And as the world gets a little more liberal,
I disagree.
It's not a debate.
and the world gets a little bit more democratic in its own socialist policies, we start to come to understanding that this is just a point we need. Constitutionalists hate this idea. Same with nationalists. Brazil is a fucking fantastic example. When the nationalists were just saying that wildfires burning, and they were almost man-made in their own sense. I'm not saying that. I'm not putting it out there that they were man-made. It's still up for speculation, but it's possible it was man-made. It was a great chance that that's the main way that those fires were started, and they kept on roaring on through because of nationalism. Most nationalism is one of the most devils and curse of people who reside in areas that truly believe that their area is better than others when we're all just human beings living in the world. And as we all have our own intake of this and why we do it, why we're in it, I'll say my own personal bias before I carry it forward. I just don't want to die a bitch. I want to know as much information as I can when it comes towards this topic. So therefore, I can try to understand that it's just a point in life that we live in and have more of a smile that I know more information that we could push forward and hopefully talk to someone who has the right idea in mind to be able to do something. Because you know me. I got my Indiana pride on the line. I cannot give up my Indiana pride because I can't. This shit's crazy. It's a whole new world era. If you look at the carbon dioxide parts per million in the atmosphere, just from the year 2005 to the year right now, 2020, we're pushing about 2.5 averagely parts per million into the atmosphere. And right now we're at about 413. Thank God we're in such a point where everyone's locked up inside that it's causing carbon emissions to lower so bad. Nature's taking its own course again slowly, and it might change. Actually, our good bros at CLIMATEdotNASAdotGOV didn't post this month's re-update of how much parts per million we have in the atmosphere. But I expected it to go to 414. We're at 413 too. That's phenomenal. And if we go to analytics, yeah, I know you love numbers, don't you? Well, here in the analytics, if we take back from 1982 all the way down to the point of where we are today, we're growing at an average of 2% ratio. And that 2% ratio is given because the push of the oil companies, their propaganda, and how they've been trying to mislead the countries. They're like, it starts with you, man. You throw away your bags. You do it. It's your job. And their advertisement of us being the main considerable parts, when in the end, it's not. And I'm tired of saying that it was the government. I'm tired of saying that it was someone else's problem. Because in the end, I believe with one's knowledge, you can come to true understandings of these things. And why this great number report that I show in front of y'all has that at the top line. Where NODA and NASA just think that the distribution of this scientific insights can give more people openings, reasonings, and thoughts. And hopefully that could come people to make a better consensus and better ideas. I carry on. Because the main reasons parts per million is so precious, and the 414, 413, wherever we lie, is something that is unforeseen, is the rate of change that we're doing it at. It's at the point in time where it's almost like the Pliocene
Pliocene epoch.
I don't know how to say that word. We can move forward. Scientists love these amazing words I can never say.
Epoch.
But on the Pliocene era, we can see a huge rise in our carbon dioxide at an upright scale, almost to what we have right now. And this is the main graph you'll always see when it comes to climate change, when it comes towards, look at this skyrocket over 2 millennia or 1 millennia. It's disastrous since the 1950s and how the Industrial Revolution has pushed us forward. And hopefully a new third Industrial Revolution will push us back. This is on the inside of others. But just like the whole Pliocene
epoch.
The only way I can really see the difference is by looking at these graphs. I'm like, oh, yeah. No, that's a peak. Look at that. Oh, look. That's another peak. Because Yale and other people love to hide the research behind a research wall, which is perfectly fine. And a paywall for that research that we can get is necessary for them to get funded for the studies and carry forward with such. It's the way research is research. It's the main reason professors are still at their job, because they have to produce research all the time. And it's one of the main reasons why research shouldn't stand conclusive off of its own idea. Everything's made up of a simple guess, thought for an experiment, for that to run into overall ideas that we have formulated into our world. And from there, experiment, prove, guess wrong, guess again. And it's that little cycle of a circle that keeps research alive. But because that is the way it works, it's easy to frost data by looking at exact circumstances after your guess to truly grasp experiment that proves your idea on your maybe very flimsy guess right. And you need other, what's the way to describe it? You need not background reports. Reference. You need other reference reviewers to come by and check your research and understand that, yeah, no, this is 100% true. This I have done the same research under the same circumstances, or in a more broad scale of a circumstance to prove it right. And another method that our good friends of the oil company be spilling around is that idea of research that is proven because the title says it's right, or the title says climate change is false because Iceland is growing by 10%, even though Iceland doesn't have no fucking ice. But I rant. This stuff carries on no matter what. And with those stupid thoughts, with those ignorant ideas, there'll always be closed-minded ignorance. But I rant so long, even my camera dies and doesn't really want to take into it. So I'll leave on the note that closed-minded ignorance is a common thing in our life and just dealing with people and how you communicate with people. People are all ignorant. I am ignorant. Everyone is ignorant. We all have things we do not know. As a good Asian mother would say, there's always someone smarter out there than you. There's always. And you can be smart if you just go out there and want to. But with closed-minded ignorance, or forceful ignorance, chosen ignorance, publicly agendicized ignorance, those are the people who are truly stupid, because they don't try to learn anymore. They don't try to push forward. They don't try to be that smart. They try to seem they are. They try to hold a sandwich full of bologna and say that, nah, this ain't bologna. Nah, this is ham. And try to force everyone else to agree that it's ham. When at the end of the day, it's all just bologna. No one's gonna believe you. And the ones with true idea of thought would never stand for such stupidity. And I don't believe we should. And I truly do hope that one day these people will learn and understand more, or maybe they do understand, but given reasons, they can't truly announce the voice and such. These people, I implore to hopefully come to that same consensus that we're all ignorant. Because as Richard Feyuman once said, on everything I said here today, that it will fall upon deaf ears. Deaf ears to all those who still truly believe that mankind is the center of the universe and we know everything. When, in the end, there is no ultimate. And the day we learn it, man, all of this would have been useless of thought. But that's just my thought in the end. I'm ignorant. I'm just an average Georgian. I don't know too much, and I don't really have much to truly say about all these topics. I'll say it's thankful for all the Renewable Now's members that have come together, different agencies, different organizations, different companies, and different countries and governments around the world. The authors and viewers at Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and editors who have come together just the same from all over the world to try to give us this knowledge and try to solve this question of, be it snuff out fossil fuels in the most realistic sense. And truly thank our good friends at CLIMATEdotNASAdotGOV who give us live reports of the standings of our world and how it is being affected by our anthropogenic or just human causes in this. And even at their Climate Kids, where they answer the big questions. Here, you'll learn, how do we know climate change is happening? Does the polar bear know? Do we know? Who knows? We're all ignorant on this. Even the polar bear is ignorant. But that's just my opinion. My name is AR.JR. I hope you all have an amazing day.
March winds and April showers make way for sweet May flowers, and then comes June and you. March winds and April showers, romance will soon be ours, an outdoor paradise.
I truly can't wait for December again.